Hello, my wonderful patrons. Today I show you how I make this painting of Yennefer Wengerberg and Triss Marigold from The Witcher. Specifically video game of The Witcher 3. The one that I played. If you don't know what The Witcher is, The Witcher started as a series of books written by the Polish actually I don't know how to pronounce his name, Andrzej Sapkowski, Andrzej Trapskowski, what do I know? I'm not actually Polish. This Eastern European accent is fake, so I should stop. Anyway, point is, it was a series of books that was later made into the very popular video game series, which was then picked up by Netflix because they're like, hey, let's make some money from this franchise. And they did. With Henry Cavill in the title role. And now, if you remember, this Henry Cavill, whatever, he is Superman currently. And now he's also The Witcher. And lots of other things. But this isn't about him. This is about the two characters, Yennefer and Triss. Both of them are, I guess you can say, witches, wielders of magic, great powerful women, and beautiful and dangerous. Yes. um, and these are two very compelling characters, so I decided to paint them as part of my Witchtober 2020 series. This is a watercolor painting, and after sketching out the pencil drawing, I started to put in this masking fluid. This masking fluid is great for watercolors. It helps you preserve the whites so that when you're painting over it, it protects the paper from the paint. Then you can just peel it off and you've got these bright areas. So it's great for details like lightning, for example, or fire, or the whites of the eyes in a face if you're doing like a wash. A very handy watercolor technique that I picked up from YouTube tutorials. Thank you, YouTube. I don't remember the specific video, but I know I found it over there somewhere. So here, after I've put in the masking fluid where I need it to be, I get started on these light layers of blue for the background. So I'm working on the background and the parts that I'm going to use this blue color. Maybe I need a bigger brush in order to do this, but there's a lot of like corners and nooks that I need to get these colors into, so I prefer using a smaller one. And I'm also trying to get this sort of cloudy effect. I don't need the background to be, what's that word? Sort of smooth or uniform. So I can go in and just sort of put some paint in there. I'm going to transition the colors from this bluish purpley, I think it's ultramarine blue, and eventually I'm going to paint Triss's side of the painting. So on the left we have Yennefer. She has lilac colored eyes, and so I put in a little bit of lilac right there. It's going to show much more boldly, strongly later on. And see how I'm mixing these pinkish colors in with the blue, creating this sort of lavender purple. In order to get that blendy effect, it's important to paint while the paper is still wet. And it's not going to blend perfectly because, well, I'm not making the effort to make it blend perfectly. Like I said, I don't mind having these sort of blotches of color and clouds and things like that. So, but I am trying to make it look nice anyway. So having the paper wet really helps with that. A little bit about the color scheme here. Because of the personalities of these two characters, I've gone for a blue color behind Yennefer and a pinkish red for Triss. The reason for this being that it matches their personalities, Yennefer being a bit, I don't want to say colder, maybe if I say it the opposite way, like Triss is a much more fiery, passionate person. Yennefer is also fiery, but she's got that blue fire, a little bit more calculated and things like that. She's very formidable. And they're both wonderful characters. I'm not hating on anybody. Don't cry about it. So, anyway, apart from that, their color schemes match these colors. Yennefer wears black. Triss tends to wear more colorful clothes, but she's got this really bright cherry red hair. And the fire that she summons or creates is the yellow fire, whereas Yennefer's fire and lightning tends to be bluish, white, that kind of thing. These two are, I wouldn't say exactly friends, but like allies of Geralt. They've both had a sort of love relationship history with him at some point. It's complicated. I'm pretty sure with Yennefer everything is complicated. I think in the situation of Geralt and Triss, it's also very complicated. What are you gonna do? Drama, drama, drama. I'm not getting into the specifics of their very complicated relationship love triangle thingy. In order to get that information, you're just gonna have to either read the books or play the video games. But they're not enemies, I don't think. I think the two girls maybe work together when they have to, but yeah. Point is, separately they're awesome characters, and together they make a really cool painting. Skipping ahead quite dramatically in the painting process, and this is because oftentimes either I forget to film or I purposely don't take a video because the rigging and everything tends to get in the way, and when I'm working on something very important like the details of the face, for example, I do not want anything ruining it. So here I'm using a fine liner with ink in it, black ink, to put in the textures and details of the hair, and I'm going to use that fine liner a lot later on in the painting. But for now, we're going back to the watercolor to put in the colors for Triss's outfit. Her outfit's very pretty. She's got like this decorated leather. What is that? Is that like a vest? Yeah, sure, why not? It's a vest. And with this really fancy turquoise blue coat and the belt. Actually, I think the costumes for all of The Witcher are really cool and a lot of fun. And if you're the type of person who watches the Witcher series on Netflix, you can see that they really went very creative for Yennefer's outfits. She's got these crazy dresses, and I think they're a lot of fun. I happen to be a fan of costume design, and I'm pretty sure that the more elaborate, the more I like it. Elaborate and outlandish, that's my favorite. The colors I'm using for Triss's outfit are yellow ochre mixed with a little bit of, I think it's burnt sienna, and so it gives it a little bit of brown to it and a sort of natural look, which I really like. I like these colors very much. And for the jacket, I think I used a cerulean blue. But then I'm going to put in some other layers, making it a little bit more turquoise and whatnot. And for Yennefer, I'm using I think that's the Pain Gray. And, by the way, it's P-A-Y-N-E, not pain as an ouch. Pain Gray in order to get that black, I'm either using a pain gray mixed with the burnt sienna, or I'm using some parts with a little bit of ultramarine blue. That way I get some variety in her outfit. Yeah, that really dark color, that's the Payne's Gray with a little bit of, burnt sienna. Just makes it a little bit darker, and I quite like it. I also load the brush with a lot more color than water, whereas when I want to paint light washes, it's mostly water and not so much pigment. So yeah, it all depends. So here I'm blocking out her outfit. She's got black with white and different layers and things like that, as well as this fur lining, which I enjoyed painting very much. You'll see later on how I paint that fur lining. I've done a bit of a underpainting there, and then I'm gonna go in later to make those details. This painting was quite the lesson because I made a lot of mistakes actually, and I had to go back and try to fix them or cover them up or do whatever. For starters, I wasn't happy with Yennefer's face in the beginning, and so I had to change the shape of it a little bit by working with the hair and putting in some whites. The way I did this was that I have a watercolor pencil that is like a chalky white, and I need to get it quite wet in order to do corrections and things. I'm pretty sure there's an opaque white that you can use specifically for watercolor corrections and things like that, but I haven't managed to find it here, and at least not in my country. It's not available, so I'm gonna have to keep looking. But what I used worked in my favor anyway. A couple of other mistakes that I made was that I think I made Triss's neck a little bit too dark. And once you go too dark, it's really hard to fix that and go back, like I said before. So I think I'm happy with the painting, especially when you see like the end, what it turned out to be in the end. It's still quite good, and I'm happy with it. But I notice that I made a lot of mistakes with this painting and learned from them, which is good, which is the objective from everything we do, right? Thanks to the lessons that I learned in this painting, the next one will be better. I hope. It should be. If it isn't, I'm gonna cry. So yeah. Oh, here I am using a teeny tiny brush. You'll notice that I use mostly just two brushes. It's like a medium-sized one and then this teeny tiny one for the details, which worked wonderfully. I was so happy. Look at those little, hairy bits flicking out and whatnot. I think this brush did a great job of creating the effect that I was aiming for. So, good job brush, good job me. I like the way the fur turned out on her costume. It looks very furry and fluffy. Now, you'll see I'm using, it's like a shish kebab, a kebab pig thingy. I don't know what they're called, but basically, you could also use a toothpick. I prefer to use this. To put that masking fluid back on their costumes. I'm going to use the masking fluid to keep the whites and the lights of the costume that color that they are now, as later on I put on much darker colors. And this is great because I'll get to keep the details of fabric and metal and shiny buttons and things like that. It's not easy to work with this masking fluid if you don't have a proper applicator. I'm using what I have and just trying to be resourceful. I could not get an applicator because they were out of stock at the store where I usually get my stuff. And I tried a different store which didn't even have it. And I'm like, humph, what kind of art store are you? But using that kebab steak works. I'm going to be alternating between putting in this masking fluid and continuing with the colors and the details of the costume and things like that. At this point, I do need to be a little bit meticulous because there are a lot of little things in there that could easily get screwed up. And they do. But that's okay. So see how once I see that the masking fluid has dried, I go in and put in those dark colors that I want to. And you'll see at the end, it's got a pretty good effect. Out of my series of Witchtober paintings, I'm pretty sure this one is perhaps the most detailed and the most colorful. Um, I wouldn't say it was the most difficult one to paint. It was time consuming and I did learn a lot thanks to these difficulties, but there were some other that may have been a lot simpler, but the effect that I was trying to obtain either didn't work for me or it was I just didn't know how to achieve it. Whereas this one, for the most part, despite all the detail and the colors, it turned out good enough for me to be happy with it, which is a big deal, you guys. Often I do not like my paintings. Actually, I'm learning to be a lot kinder to them now. I used to be a lot worse. That's the perfectionist in me. But if I'm a perfectionist, I don't finish anything, and if I don't finish anything, then I don't have any art, and if I don't have any art, then I'm a sad, sad Radhika. So, watercolors, yes. Not only are they great teachers, but they're also a lot of fun to play with. Something that I need to keep doing in order to get better and understand them a little bit better. I don't think I'm gonna give up acrylics and oils. They're just very different mediums. There's different ways of approaching a painting, different effects that I can get. And I wouldn't give up one for the other. I like having the freedom of trying different things and seeing different effects. What do you think? Do you prefer the look of a watercolor painting, or do you prefer the look of an oil or an acrylic painting? In general, if I could, I would paint with just oils instead of acrylics because I really like the vibrance of the colors. But acrylics are just so much easier and faster to work with and cheaper too. Maybe when I'm like a famous millionaire artist extraordinaire, then I can splurge on fancy oils. But today I do not have the funds. So yeah, I do what I can with what I have, and I think it's good enough. See, now at this point I've gone back and I've taken out the masking fluid. I probably took out the masking fluid a long time ago. I just wasn't paying attention. I took out the masking fluid of the background so that you can see the whites of the fire and the lightning, and I'm using this medium-sized brush to go back in and put in some contrast and really making the lightning pop out while painting these darks in. Oops, I made a mistake. Good thing it was still wet, so I could just dab it out. Dab it out. It's all good. Just dab it out. And I also transitioned a little bit here with the colors. You notice how I go from a sort of ultramarine, purpley blue, and then I'm going to a more cerulean, lighter blue. And the fire, I'm trying to make it look like an icy blue. Cold, cold fire burning in your veins. I have a flair for the dramatic. I do not apologize. I'm just letting you know. So, I'm gonna do the same thing with the fire in Triss's hand, but I don't think I got any footage of that, so you'll just have to see that at the end when I show you the picture of the finished painting. You can also see me here adding more details, putting in more of that masking fluid, and this time I am doing, oh yeah, it's the seams and the stitches and things, decorations of her outfit, and it's a lot of fun, actually. So if I put down this masking fluid, then I can put in those darks and the shadows and everything without losing the detail of those stitches and the buttons and things. Yeah, see? One of the things that I noticed about Triss's sleeves is that each of these sort of diamond or square shapes were like puffy. So I had to put in the shadows in the right place to give that effect. There are also some silvery buttons on the side holding her, what's that? Vest, holding her vest together. And things like that. And I'm also going in and putting in the shadows of her sleeves and other things. I don't really know what kind of outfit she's wearing. I'm not very familiar with medieval fashion, which is understandable. But I like it. The point is I like it, and I enjoy doing this part, putting in all of these sort of shadows to give the effect of wrinkles and folds and other things like that. It was good fun. At some point it might have gotten a little frustrating, but it just takes some patience. Once I put in the shadows, okay, I don't know what happens. My camera moves on its own, and it doesn't move that fast. Since I've sped up the video, it looks like it's moving very quickly, but it's actually a very slow, gradual move there, and whatever. You can also see my dog playing with some wires. Not good. I wonder if I noticed at the time. I probably did. I probably told her to stop. That's why I have to mute all of the original audio of my videos. There's a lot of nonsense going on, barking and whatnot. Anyway, now that I've painted in Triss's pants, you can see, or if you're in England, they're called trousers, not pants. You can see the contrast with her tunic or her vest or whatever, and it looks really nice. Then I take the medium-sized brush and I put in this yellow ochre, which is beautiful, a vibrant color, and something about this paper, oh well, it's 100% cotton paper, so it helps to absorb the colors and blend them really nicely. See the transition between the light, the highlight of her hip with that little bend of her tunic. Is it a tunic? I don't know what it's called. Whatever. Bear with me. The colors, the colors look really good together. The shadows and the transitions and the whole illusion of depth. I love it. Here I'm putting in those dark shadows. And since the sleeves, those red sleeves of hers here are really, really light, I would have to go back at some point and paint them with a brighter and darker red so that you can really see the beauty of her outfit. All these gorgeous contrasting colors. I told you, she wears colorful outfits. Yeah. This part was really satisfying, I think. Putting in that yellow ochre and giving the outfit sort of, I guess it's like giving it life, you know. And I really enjoyed all that blending too. Satisfying. You can see that I put the masking fluid on Yennefer's outfit as well, where I need the colors to remain intact. And I had to go over it a lot of times with the Payne's Gray and then put in as many layers of dark color as I could to make it look like it's a black outfit. But I don't want to go on it like with a black color, like with ink or anything, because that would take away the subtle, I don't know what you would call it, subtle highlights and things that look of velvety. I think she wears velvet. At least her top is velvety. I'm not completely sure, because it's a video game. It should be. It would keep her warm. Anyway, so you're gonna see me paint a lot of layers of black to continue giving it depth and making it darker and making it look nice. So yeah. This is the last of the footage that I have, so at this point I'm going to ask you for your opinion. I would like to know if you have any questions. I would like to read your comments. I would like your feedback in general. And I hope you liked this video and the painting. I hope you enjoyed watching the process. Here is the final image. You can see the details of the stitching and the embroidery or whatever that is on Triss's outfit. And thank you so much. Thanks to you, this is possible, and I love you. Bye.